friends, family, honored guests, faculty, and most importantly, our graduates, good afternoon. My name is Margaret Raymond, and I'm the Dean of the Law School here at the University of Wisconsin. It is my honor, my privilege, and my pleasure to welcome you all to our hooding ceremony. First, I want to welcome our graduates. Congratulations. We're all very proud of you, and we're delighted to share this celebration with you. Next, I would like to welcome all the friends, family, and loved ones of the graduates. Today marks an important moment for you as well. And although I was a law faculty member for 16 years and I've been a dean for 7, I don't think I quite knew how important this day is to you until this year when I became a law school mom. My daughter is a first-year law student, and while I have a lot more to go through to get to where you are, I have a new and unique appreciation of how important your contributions have been to the success of our graduates. Your patience, your support, your interest, and your love have brought them to this day. And therefore, graduating class, our first order of business is to recognize all those very important people whose contributions have been essential to your success. So graduates, I would like you to turn to your friends and family and give them a big round of applause. Thank you. There is one member of the JD class who cannot celebrate with us today. We lost Christopher Bertram this semester. We miss him, and as a community, I invite all of you to join in honoring him. Chris's family, his mother, Rebecca Bertram, his father, William Bertram, and his spouse, Pamela Hall, are all here with us today. I'd like to ask everyone to pause for a moment of silence in memory of Christopher Bertram. Thank you. I am very glad to share with you all the news that the Chancellor has authorized us to award Chris his JD degree posthumously. Let's all continue to send our thoughts and prayers to Chris's family as they celebrate his life and honor his memory. I also want to welcome our family and friends who are streaming the ceremony online. Welcome. We're very excited you can join us remotely. Behind the graduates is a camera, so I'm going to ask everyone on stage to wave at all the family and loved ones who are watching us from around the country and around the world. Thanks for being here with us today. Along with the stream, you can follow this year's ceremony on social media. We have a hashtag, UWLawGrad. And we encourage everybody to use the hashtag today throughout the ceremony. In fact, right now, stop, pull out your phone, take a selfie, and post it. We're going to take a minute. What? Nobody brought a camera? If any of you are joining us at Camp Randall tomorrow, the hashtag will also work there. It is now my pleasure to welcome our honored guests who join us on the stage this afternoon. They are the Honorable Louis B. Butler, a former justice of the Wisconsin Supreme Court and attorney at the law firm of DeWitt, Ross & Stevens, who is our keynote speaker for today, our faculty speaker, Professor Miriam Seifter, and our student speakers, Tomas Clausen, Carlos Miranda Arau, and Reginald Thedford, Jr. Also on stage are my colleagues, the University of Wisconsin Law School faculty. As your teachers, mentors, and guides, we've been with you on your journey. We are very pleased and proud to share with you this day when you all transition from being our students to being our colleagues and friends. My guess is also that there are some faculty members in the audience who are happy to be here but hate wearing academic attire. So at this time, I'm going to invite the faculty to stand, including those of you who are in the audience, and be recognized by our graduates. Faculty? Thank you. You can be seated. Although this is a happy day, graduation is bittersweet for us in a way because we're going to miss you. You've all made your own way here and built your communities of connection and commitment around you. Please stay in touch with us. We look forward to hearing from you and sharing the next steps in your journey. It is now my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, the Honorable Louis B. Butler, Jr. As the first African American to serve on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, Justice Butler has had a significant impact in the law on our state. He was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, earned his bachelor's degree from Lawrence University and his law degree from UW Law School. He was appointed to the Wisconsin Supreme Court in 2004 and served until 2008. Prior to serving on our state's highest court, Justice Butler was a public servant, practicing as a state public defender, a municipal judge, and a state circuit court judge before serving as a justice. He was the first public defender from the state of Wisconsin to argue a case before the U.S. Supreme Court, McCoy versus Wisconsin Court of Appeals. Psst, he lost. Justice Butler, not an unusual experience for a public defender, as many of you know. Justice Butler now practices at the firm of DeWitt, Ross, and Stevens as a litigator, and as you might imagine, he does a lot of appellate work, as well as focusing on construction law and environmental issues. We are delighted to have Justice Butler join us today. He's a great friend to the law school. He regularly serves as a final round judge for the annual Evans Moot Court competition we host each spring. He also served as a justice in residence at the UW Law School, where he taught undergraduate and law students for 3 years. He's not only a UW Law graduate, he's a UW Law dad. His daughter is a proud alumna of the UW Law School who practices in the Milwaukee area. It is my honor and privilege to welcome to the podium today the Honorable Louis B. Butler, Jr.
I lost, but the deck was stacked. The person who wrote the opinion against me authored the rule that I was challenging. It's kind of tough to win that one. But it was 5-3 with a vigorous dissent. Dean Raymond, Professor Seifter, graduate speakers Clausen, Thetford, and Miranda, distinguished faculty, honored guests, family, and friends, and most important, the graduating class of 2018. Good afternoon. What a pleasure, and indeed an honor for me to be here today to congratulate the law school class of 2018 on the completion of your years of hard work. When I first got the call, my initial reaction was one of excitement and enthusiasm that this class saw fit to ask me to speak at your hooding ceremony. I didn't really have any connections to this class. I hadn't taught at the law school since 2011, so I was truly surprised. Of course, when I thought about it in more detail, that excitement and enthusiasm turned to concern, anxiety, and depression. I thought back to when I was in law school and the distinguished lawyers that I would have wanted to have heard from. People like Lloyd Barbie and Vel Phillips, rest her soul. And I realized that I had one thing in common with them. I was old. And then I realized how this class must look at me. Old! This feeling was really put into perspective when it dawned on me that this year's faculty speaker, Miriam Seifter, wasn't even born when I graduated from law school here. What a bummer. With the possible exception of Larry Church and the emeritus professors who occasionally teach a class every now and then, I don't think that any of the other professors who taught when I was here are now active faculty members. What a deeply depressing thought. So while I recognize that it is indeed an honor to be asked by this graduating class to share some words of wisdom and encouragement as you go forward with your careers, I truly understand that you have asked me to do so while I still can. So I'm going to take full advantage of the opportunity to share with you some thoughts and passions that I've had over my career as each of you launch yours. I recognize that in addressing you today, I am speaking to more than one audience. First and foremost, I have some thoughts for the class of 2018 that may help guide and inspire you as you start your new careers. I have some words for the faculty members who have helped shape those careers. And finally, I have some more thoughts for the families and friends who have been there with you while you struggle through law school. The class of 2018 has been privileged to study at this outstanding institution. I'm a bit arrogant about this subject. I consider this institution to be one of the best law schools in the country. The school has some exciting, young, energetic faculty members who are simply outstanding at what they do. People like Anuj Desai, Dave Schwartz, Heinz Klug, Alta Charo, Jason Yaki, Cecilia Klingel, Linda Green, John Onosor, Steph Tai, Dave Schultz, Keith Finley, and so many others, just to name some. And we have one of the finest clinical programs in the country, thanks to people like Michelle Levine, Meg Gaines, John Prey, Mary Prosser, Marcia Mansfield, Mitch, I never could figure out why he's only got one name, Leslie Shear, Adam Stevenson, Gretchen Viney, Ben Kempinen, and others. And I would be remiss if I didn't remember to give a shout out to some of the old guys who kept this school strong over the years. People like Bill Whitford, Karen Klaus, Frank Turkheimer, Ken Davis, Walter Dickey, Cliff Thompson, Dave and Louise Trubeck, Howard Erlinger, Mark Gallanter, Leonard Kaplan, and Peter Carstensen. As an aside, what I found most gratifying was that my contracts professor, Stuart McCauley, taught contracts to count them, three generations of my family, including my 3-year-old granddaughter. Yes, she took the class, and no, don't ask her for any details. Please accept my apologies if I failed to name your favorite law school professor. I could go on, but you get the idea. But what really makes this institution great are you, the students, who came here and gave it your all so that you could be the best that you can be. Today is the culmination of 20 years of education. That's 20 years of achievements, memories, hard work, friendships, and struggles along the way. For each of the graduates, I'm sure that you are experiencing many different emotions today. Feelings of pride, a sense of accomplishment, and a great deal of relief that a big part of life's journey is now complete, except for the loans. Each of you can walk with your head held high, knowing that you have successfully received what few in this world even have access to, a first-rate legal education from one of the finest institutions this nation has to offer. Although the pains of law school, the classes, the late-night studying, the last-minute papers, and examinations may be too fresh now for you to have a balanced view of your experiences, I am sure that in the years to come, that each of you will feel a growing sense of gratitude to the University of Wisconsin Law School and this wonderful faculty. You've received a great education, a sound foundation to enable you to begin your careers. As I began to prepare for this address, my mind drifted back to the years that I attended UW some 40-plus years ago. I remember my apprehension at being among the country's best and brightest, wondering if I had gotten into something over my head. I vividly remembered the panic as I took my first law school exam. I threw up. I really did. I recall regularly eating fast foods because I did not have time to cook a normal meal. Like many of you, I needed a job to survive. Given the rigors of law school, that meant that I did not have much time for leisure activities. Yet some of my classmates and I would take a break the same time every day so we could go to the student lounge and watch Star Trek. And for those of you younger folks, I mean the TV show, not the movie. Other students found their release by playing sheep's head in the other end of the lounge. I recall that in some of my classes, I used to sit in the back of the room next to then classmate Ben Kempinen in the days before the smartphones, where we tried to read the newspaper without rattling the pages. I absolutely refused to take any classes from then tax professor Shirley Abrahamson. Heard that she had way too much reading and was a tough grader. Nothing's changed. I refused to take any classes from Professor Jim Jones. He was too much like my father, and you can't take a class from your dad. Eventually, though, I began to develop the confidence that indeed I belonged here with the rest of my classmates. My focus started to shift from merely surviving in class to thoughts of my future. What area of law would I end up in? Would I be any good? Sound familiar? You see, you've not gone through this experience alone. We who have walked this path before you have shared your pain, your anxiety, and ultimately your anticipation that something new and wonderful is about to begin for each of you. I pondered what advice I could share with you as you begin your new careers as this nation's newest leaders. I will endeavor to offer a few suggestions that I believe will help you soar in the years to come. If I sound a bit preachy along the way, that's okay. My nickname at the National Judicial College is Preacher Man. First, remember why you came to law school in the first place. I suspect that for many of you, you came here to make this world a better place. Whether you came here to right some wrong, fix some injustice, or offer some improvements that would make life better for others, your motivation was to make your community a bit better than it is. Do not lose this desire. You will have many opportunities to improve the world you live in as long as you remember why you went to law school to begin with. Seize those opportunities and do well for those who can use your help. Please indulge me and allow me to share why I happened to choose law as a career. I think back to when I was a child, growing up in a neighborhood surrounded by gangs and violence, wondering what could be done to make our streets safe again. I remember some of my teachers attempting to dissuade me from setting lofty goals for myself and instead encouraging me to be realistic. After all, an 8-year-old African American could never hope to one day be president, or so I was told. By the way, it was my plan. He stole it. And I shouldn't waste my time applying to the University of Wisconsin, as I wasn't smart enough to get in. As a child of the civil rights movement, I often wondered how people could be so cruel and unjust, hating, beating, and killing people simply because the color of their skin was different. I felt the sting of prejudice firsthand, and not just as a child. Though much has changed for the better, racism and bigotry persist today. Those infamous words of Governor George Wallace, segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever, that's the way he said it, still ring true in the hearts of way too many people. Our schools, our neighborhoods, and our friendships still reflect the bias that we have been unable to end. But I also recall the words of a then young president whose message was one of public service and hope. For many of us, John Fitzgerald Kennedy's vision of Camelot would hopefully one day become a reality. And we could dare to dream. I was fortunate enough to have lived at a time when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had dared to share his dream with the world, a dream of equal opportunity, a dream that all of us could live together in peace and harmony, free from the bigotry that has divided our society. That was the world I wanted to be a part of. That was the world I wanted to help shape. In the legal profession, I saw the opportunity to reach out and do what was right for all of the right reasons. The legal profession would provide me with the skills and the tools to help make this world a better place. This law school helped to provide me with a moral compass to use my career for the public good, to seek justice for all, and to go out in the world and try to make a difference. Those were the reasons I went to law school. I wanted to make a difference so that I could leave the world a better place than I found it. It was my passion to bring about a positive change, and I will continue to try in every way possible to achieve that change as long as I'm around. I urge each of you to reflect back on why you chose the legal profession as a career and why you wanted to attend this great institution. Oh, we all wish great success for you, for each of you. There's nothing wrong with making a lot of money. And while you can and should take care of your families and loved ones, you should also never forget why you wanted to do this in the first place. I urge you to make a difference in the world as you embark on your careers. Second, love the work that you do, and you will do well for those who you endeavor to help. This may be a bit harder to understand, so let me explain by example. When I was in law school, I happened to love the study of the criminal justice system. I was therefore fortunate to find a profession that allowed me to practice criminal law. For me, going to court to represent some client was not work, it was not a job, it was an adventure. It was something I looked forward to. The thrill of victory and the agony of someone else's defeat. That was what I longed for. And along the way, I had the opportunity to help straighten out their lives. Yet, significant problems persist within the criminal justice system today. I urge all of you to read an article authored by Professor Mary Prosser and Rising 3L Shannon Toole, entitled Wisconsin's Mass and Disparate Incarceration, an April edition of Wisconsin Lawyer. Wisconsin's prison population has grown by leaps and bounds, and the disparity that exists involving people of color is downright shocking. As the authors point out, Wisconsin has one of the nation's highest rates of disparity in the confinement of African Americans compared to whites, 10 times the rate of whites incarcerated in our state. There are numerous reasons that exist for this disparity, many of which we don't have a handle on. Nevertheless, I suspect that one reason is the fact that Wisconsin rates at the bottom of this scale for what it pays lawyers who represent poor people facing criminal charges. Our system of reimbursing lawyers has not progressed, it has regressed. It costs more per hour today in office overhead to keep a law office open than Wisconsin is willing to pay for a lawyer to handle a constitutionally mandated defense for an indigent person. Our system of justice cannot continue to incentivize publicly appointed lawyers into entering into plea negotiations for people who cannot afford to retain a private lawyer simply because an indigent person can't pay for his or her own defense. It is truly a sad commentary on our state when we refuse to pay lawyers who would otherwise want to represent poor people in criminal cases at the same time we incarcerate those people at record numbers in racially disparate ways. Our system of criminal justice is broke, and it needs to be fixed. I appreciate the article. Thank you. I appreciate the article written by Professor Prosser and Ms. Toole, as fixing the justice system in Wisconsin remains one of my passions. Whether your passion is criminal law, corporate practice, insurance law, intellectual property, something I'd never be good at, international law, academia, or any of the other exciting fields that exist, embrace it and you will enjoy it. I can honestly say that I have never regretted making the career choice that I made, and 40 years from now, I hope each of you will be able to say the same thing. Third, and I mean this, third, look around you. You guys, look around you. I mean it, look around you. Stay in touch with your classmates, those who have shared the trials and tribulations of the last 3 years with you. I truly regret not having done a good job of that after I graduated. Your friends and classmates will go on to do many fine things in their careers. I think back to the people I went to law school with. Many have gone on to become partners at some of the nation's best law firms. One of them you see regularly on commercials on TV. Quite a few have become judges. Dan Bernstein, one of our school's first Hasty Fellows, became dean of this great law school. One of my classmates, Kathleen Falk, is a former Dane County executive. One, Diane Deal is former state bar president. Mark Bradley chaired the University of Wisconsin System's Board of Regents. Ben Kempinen, Gretchen Viney, and Mary Prosser are professors at this great institution. Tom Zander, the former head of the Legal Aid Society in Milwaukee, was personally responsible for getting me a job in the public defender's office in 1979, and I've thanked Tom for that many times. And one, Justice Ann Walsh Bradley, is a former colleague of mine on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. 40 years from now, each of you will be able to reflect on the accomplishments of your classmates. And who knows, maybe one of you will become a United States Senator, a governor, a United States Supreme Court justice, or dare say, President of the United States. Don't do like I do when I graduated. Don't walk away and lose touch with the people who struggle with you. Maintain your relationships with your classmates and rise together as a group. The last piece of advice I have to offer is to remember just who you are representing. People are placing their property, their money, their liberty, and their lives in your hands, and they have every right to expect the very best from you. They need your help in resolving the disputes they've been unable to resolve. They lack the ability to maneuver within the legal system. They are scared, and they have nowhere else to turn. You must treat their situations as if they were your own. Give each of your clients the very best representation you possibly can. It will not only make you a better lawyer, but you will also feel like a better person for it. Nevertheless, I urge each of you to not lose sight of the fact that as thrilled as you may be to be a proud graduate of this fine institution, your loved ones who are here with you today, your parents, your spouses, significant others, family, and friends may be even prouder of your achievements than you are. This is where I would like to address each of the parents, family members, and loved ones who are here. For every parent, there is a defining moment that each of you can point to that signifies your recognition that you are no longer their baby. You have become an adult. For my wife and me, that moment came in 2009 when our oldest daughter, Jessica, marched across this very stage with her then 6-year-old daughter, both in cap and gown, and I placed the hood around her shoulders. I strongly suspect that for many of your parents, today will be that defining moment. I know what they're feeling. They will look at you a bit differently now with a new twinkle in their eye. And I can tell you that you will not understand what today means to them until years from now when you see your own children reach their goals and become the kind of adults that you hope they would become. Be happy for your loved ones, for today may truly mean more to them than it does to you. As each of you begin your legal careers, take the time to make a difference. Use your careers to make the world just a little bit better than it was when you entered it. Be proud of what you have accomplished here today, but more importantly, make us all proud of what you are going to do from this point on. Congratulations and good luck to all of you.
Thank you, Justice Butler. Some words to think about. You may all have noticed that our program includes a broad array of awards and recognitions that our students have received during their time at the law school. Throughout our ceremony today, we're going to pause from time to time to recognize our graduates' many activities and achievements. In the back of the program is a key that describes what each of these recognitions is and what the graduate did to earn them, which is why this is a thick little booklet. The first distinction I'd like to mention is membership in our Pro Bono Society. You may notice that some of our graduates are wearing cords as part of their academic attire. Those cords mean that the graduates are members of our Pro Bono Society. Membership is granted to students who have completed a specific number of volunteer hours of free legal service for people in need. Purple cords mean the graduates completed 50 hours or more of pro bono service. Purple and gold cords indicate that the graduate has completed 100 or more hours. Pro bono service is an important part of the responsibility of every practicing attorney, and we're very proud of our students who began this commitment while still in law school. I'd like to ask our students who are wearing Pro Bono Society cords to stand if they're able and be recognized at this time. Please remain standing. Even if you didn't earn membership in the Pro Bono Society, if you did any pro bono work at all while you were in law school, please join your colleagues and stand. Let's give these graduates a round of applause for their commitment to offering legal services to those in need. Thanks so much. You can be seated. Our graduating students choose their own student speakers from among their colleagues, and our first speaker from the JD graduating class is Tomas Clausen. Tomas graduated with academic distinction from UW, earning a degree in history and certificates in East Asian Studies and Africa Studies. Prior to law school, Tomas participated in Teach for America, teaching in the New York public schools, and during this time he earned a master's in special education from Hunter College. While in law school, Tomas served as editor-in-chief of the Wisconsin Law Review. He was also active in moot court, serving as a team member, was a member of the Leo Committee, and a student ambassador for admissions. I'm not quite sure when he sleeps, but I hope that he does. Tomas will be joining the Milwaukee office of Reinhard Berner Van Duren after graduation. Our community is very fortunate to have him stay here in Wisconsin as he begins his law practice, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to the first of our student speakers, Tomas Clausen. Tomas?
Good afternoon. First, I want to say how much of an honor it is to be standing in front of you speaking on such a special day. I want to thank my fellow 3Ls for this opportunity. Today, I want to spend some time talking about something we all have in common, the diploma privilege. In case there's anyone here that doesn't know, you're looking at some of the luckiest law students in the country. We will be admitted to the Wisconsin bar without having to take a bar exam. Specifically, I want to focus on that second word, privilege. I want to explore three aspects of that word with you today. First, I'm immensely privileged to be standing in front of you today. At the start of my own life, it would have seemed quite improbable. I was born in Guatemala City to a teenage mother who had to sign my birth certificate with her thumbprint because she was unable to read or write. She had moved from her small town in the southern part of the country to the capital in order to work as a maid in order to make a living. When I was born, the country was in the middle of a civil war that would not end until the middle of the 1990s. Fortunately for me, she made the difficult decision to give me up for adoption so that I could have a better future here in the United States. I'm also privileged because I have an incredible adopted family. Mom, you're a role model on how to selflessly give others. Pop, if I'm half the lawyer you were, I will know that I've had a successful career. Peter and Chris, you are great brothers and even better fathers. Ceci, you are the kindest person I know and a role model for caring. Second, I'm immensely privileged to have gone to law school with all of you. Over the last 3 years, I've had a chance to develop great relationships with many of you. I want to highlight a couple of those with you today. First, Zayed, you were my first friend in law school. No joke, Leo orientation to small group 4 to graduation. I still remember us being nervous 1Ls, working as hard as we could in order to do the best we could. Thanks for being a great study partner too, even if you ended up doing better than me. I like to take a little bit of credit for being such a great teacher. Jokes aside, I will always remember, Halong Bay will always remind me of you. I'll never forget the time that we arrived too early and we got our food before sunset. You urged me to eat before you. Nothing better exemplifies how much you put others before you. And I'm confident that this is what your clients will value most in you moving forward. Alyssa, I'm so happy we met interning at the Wisconsin Innocence Project. I truly value our conversations about politics, law, and most importantly, our own personal development. I'm so thankful that there are smart, driven, and empathetic people like you that want to become prosecutors. I feel blessed to call you my friend, even if you root for Penn State football. Marisol, you wanted to come to law school to help others like you who did not have easy access to the legal system. You wanted to help the Latino community and will be doing just that next year in Milwaukee, working at the Milwaukee Legal Aid Society. I will always remember when I heard you were elected editor-in-chief of the Wisconsin Journal of Law, Gender, and Society. Who would have thought that two of the law school's academic journals would have been led by someone born in Mexico and Guatemala? I'm confident that this is one of the only years that Hispanic students have led not one, but two of the academic journals. Betsaida, I'm so thankful we've become friends over the past year. You're one of the only people in the law school who've had the opportunity to talk about my own experience in the Global South. Although I've never been to your home country of Ethiopia, we've seen the same issues in the developing world. And I'm so glad that you are committed to using the law to shape economic development of your fellow Africans. Mike, Lance, and Tyler, what can I say? We may have spent too much time watching sports instead of studying, but I've enjoyed every moment of it. Specifically, I've enjoyed our discussions on how best to solve the issues that face our state and country more broadly. While we generally agree about what teams to root for, we don't always see eye to eye on how to solve these issues. This disagreement, however, doesn't mean we can't engage in fruitful dialogue in order to find some middle ground. And more importantly, it doesn't mean that we cannot be friends. I so appreciate you guys and cannot imagine law school without you. In a time when it seems all the focus is on what is different between us and how those differences separate us, I'm happy to have gone to law school with so many people who've had so many different life experiences than me. In reality, it's through exploring these different experiences that we found out we have much more in common than we do not. Third and finally, we are immensely privileged to have gone to law school at the University of Wisconsin. We've been privileged to learn from some truly passionate professors, some of whom are here with us today, and some professors like Richard Heyman and Cheryl Weston, who we lost too soon. Our law school experience would not have been the same without them. We are also privileged to be admitted to Wisconsin Bar without having to take a bar exam. It is a privilege, in my view, that comes with a responsibility to try to give back to the state that gave it to you. Whether it is through your pro bono practice, work you do outside the office, or trying to volunteer this summer as you prepare for the bar and moving to a different state, I hope each of you considers doing something to give back to the state that trusts you and your education enough to admit you to practice without taking a bar. To conclude, I know many times speakers encourage others to take actions, and it's unclear they themselves do the same. I firmly do not want to be in this category. While I cannot forecast my future work, please know that I'm committed to making the most of the opportunity my birth mother gave me. She made an incredible sacrifice of love for me, and I will try to pay it back by helping others for the rest of my life. I'm excited to move home to Milwaukee and work to improve the community. A community in many ways I see as a part of my extended family. An extended family, I believe, now includes each of you. Please know I'm here for you personally and professionally, and thank you for the privilege of speaking today.
Thank you, Tomas. I think you can tell that Tomas took great advantage of the opportunities for service that were available to him as a law student, and he's not alone. Our students are richly involved in service to the law school, to their student organizations, to the broader community. At this time, I'd like to ask every student who has received an award for service to stand if you can and be recognized. If you're not sure whether your award fits in this category, stand up anyway. Our goal is to recognize each and every student here for the many ways they contributed to the life of our law school, our university, and the broader community. So service award winners, let's stand. Okay, not your first rodeo. Stay standing, stay standing. Now I'd like to ask every student who played a leadership role in a student organization at the law school to join your colleagues and stand if you're able. Our student organizations do amazing work. They support their fellow students throughout their time in law school, connect to issues, concerns, and communities that they're passionate about, and all these folks helped make that happen. Now, if you were involved in a student organization, even if you didn't play a leadership role, stand up and be counted. If you were involved with SBA, if you helped with middle school mock trial, collected holiday gifts, did Thanksgiving lunch at the preschool, gave blood at the Dean's Cup drive, helped cook breakfast at the homeless shelter, stand up. You can be seated. I think you can tell what engaged, active, and enthusiastic members of our law school, university, and Madison community this class has been. We're definitely going to miss them. As I mentioned, Tomas was part of the Wisconsin Law Review and a member of Moot Court. Mock trial, Moot Court, and our journals are part of what we call co-curricular activities here. They're ways to continue learning and developing skills as a lawyer, advocate, and writer that are outside of the confines of traditional law school coursework. These activities provide a great array of opportunities for students to hone their litigation, writing, advocacy, and trial practice skills. They get to write for publication and edit scholarly work, and they develop skills as administrators, managers, and coordinators, as well as growing their lawyering abilities. These groups do have faculty advisors, but a vast amount of the heavy lifting of running them is done by our student leaders and student members. If you were part of a journal, you might have worked on a symposium issue, which meant selecting, inviting, hosting, and coordinating speakers for a complex event in a strong substantive area, and editing the publications that came from that symposium. If you participated in Moot Court, you hosted Evans, you might have helped draft the problem, coordinate a complex array of multiple sessions of oral argument, figured out how to get all those people here, get them to participate, and get them home again. Whatever work you did, you learned and grew from that experience and hopefully built some camaraderie and community around it. At this time, I'd like to ask all of our graduates who've received an award for their work with a co-curricular activity, including journals, moot court, or mock trial, to stand and be recognized. Yeah, don't sit down. Now I'd like to ask every graduate who played a leadership role in any of those activities to join your colleagues and be recognized. Now I'd like to ask any student who participated in any co-curricular activity to stand, join your colleagues, and be recognized. Thank you for being such involved and engaged members of our community. You can be seated. Our next speaker today, Carlos Miranda Arau, represents the law school's graduate students. Carlos was born and raised in Santiago, Chile. Before coming to Wisconsin, he lived for 2 years in Antarctica, so I imagine he found our winter unimpressive. Prior to attending the law school, he clerked at a law firm. He attended Yale University as an exchange student, returned to Chile to work as a teaching assistant in commercial law, and participated in research projects in the fields of business and human rights. Carlos was deeply honored to be chosen by his graduate student classmates to speak on their behalf. Carlos would like to dedicate his speech to the memory of his grandmother, who passed away during his time here in Madison. Please join me in welcoming Carlos to the podium.
Dear Dean of the Faculty of Law, Margaret Raymond, dear faculty members, dear scholars, families, and fellow students. I think this graduation represents a hinge between two journeys. It is natural to feel doubt or uncertainty, perhaps even fear, because unfortunately, as time goes by, life starts to carry with it a trace of definiteness. Suddenly, we might fall prey of time. So I think this is a great time to ask ourselves, what is the meaning of being a lawyer, and how is that intertwined with our role as human beings? I don't have, human beings in coexistence with others of our own kind, but also with other species and surrounding everything, of course, our Mother Nature too. I don't think I have an answer to such question. But as I think that literature, as so often does, can give us a glimpse. In one of Anton Chekhov's tales called The World Number 6, an interesting dialogue took place between a psychiatrist and one of the patients in a mental hospital. In the middle of the conversation, the doctor said to the patient, "The ordinary man looks for good and evil in external things, that is, in carriages, in studies, but I think a man looks for it in himself." And the patient responded, "You should go and preach that philosophy in Greece, where it's warm and fragrant with the scent of pomegranates, but here it's not suited to the climate." I think that the concern of Chekhov in writing these lines was the levity with which we resort to inwardness when reality compels us to do exactly the opposite. This is not an easy world to deal with, people might think. So instead, we can shift the focus toward our inner self, live a decent life, and wait until the afterlife to see whether something better is coming. Either way, we get the same outcome: the oblivion and perpetuation of suffering for those who cannot afford, ignoring the present when they are struggling now, here, to get clean water or just to stay alive. I think this is brilliantly illustrated by the closing statement of the patient in his conversation with the doctor. "A young man asks advice, what he is to do, how he is to live," said the patient. "Anyone else will think before answering, but you have got the answer ready. Strive for comprehension or for true happiness. And what is that fantastic true happiness? There is no answer, of course. We are kept here behind barred windows, tortured, left to rot. But that is very good and reasonable, because there is no difference at all between this world and a warm study, a convenient philosophy. You can do nothing and your conscience is clear, and you feel you're wise. No, sir, it is not philosophy, it is not thinking, it is not breadth of vision, but laziness, fakerism, drowsy stupefaction." So yes, we can pretend that we can isolate ourselves from the interconnectedness of our inevitable reality, or not without sacrifice, acknowledge that not everyone wake up in the morning with the aroma of the pomegranate, but instead the whiff of the soot in their scrambling neighborhoods, their homes. The same home that, according to UN estimations, 200 million people are expected to abandon by 2050 due to climate change only. But humans are not the only ones losing their homes. The loss of biodiversity in the earth is occurring at rates up to 10,000 times higher than the natural rate, seemingly caused by our own unthoughtful lifestyle. So coming back to my question, what is our role as lawyers and human beings? I don't really know, and I don't think we need an answer. I think we need action. But I wouldn't be standing before you if I did not think that Wisconsin Law School is a good place to find these much-needed sprouts of change. And I truly believe that we will make that change. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Our second JD speaker is Reginald Thedford Jr. Born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, yes, he's a Cardinal fan, but we can still be friends. Reggie received his bachelor's in political science from Eastern Illinois University, where he served as student body president his senior year. While in law school, Reggie has dedicated much of his non-classroom time to the areas of social justice. He was on the executive board of the Black Law Students Association and on the Midwest Regional Board of the National Black Law Students Association. He founded the student organization Law and Advocacy for Racial Justice and served as a leader in the law school in programming social justice events. Reggie participated in the Oxford Federal Prison Project, a clinical program in our Frank J. Remington Center, and spent last summer at the Southern Center for Human Rights. We are honored to have him speak today. We'll greatly miss him, but we know he has inspired his classmates through his commitment to the social justice work he's done here. Please join me in welcoming Reginald Thedford Jr. to the podium.
How's everybody doing today? All right? All right. So good afternoon to the faculty, staff, alumni, parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, and of course to the amazing class of 2018. It's an honor and privilege to be able to speak in front of all of you today. Now, when it was announced that I'll be one of the student speakers, the question I received the most was, what are you going to be speaking about? Now, if anybody knows me, knows I can go on for days with different ideas. So ultimately, I didn't know. I thought about talking about us as 1Ls flabbergasted in our first semester courses, or how many days we suffocated, buried in stress and anxiety, or how we were able to form a bond as we navigated our way through the trenches we call law school. But then I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to be a mouthpiece for justice, to speak for the ones we have chosen to mute, for the ones knocking on the door of opportunity but goes unanswered, and for the ones who have lost hope. Now, when we talk about injustice, it's important that we recognize the many communities that consistently suffer from injustice. So it would be irresponsible of me not to address the women. Particularly, I want to shout out the women of our class. We are the first class since 2000 to have a majority of women. Yeah. And I'm truly honored to have witnessed a group of fierce, intelligent, strong, and beautiful women preparing themselves to take over the world. Maya Angelou said that God puts a rainbow in the clouds so that each of us, in the most dreariest and most dreaded moments, can see a possibility of hope. I can honestly say that on the cloudiest days, which seem like every day in law school, you all have been that rainbow for me. And I know it seems like the rest of the world may not see your value, the nurturers of the world, the godly figures you are that delivers life from one world to this one. So I want to take this opportunity and let's pay homage to the women warriors that were on the front lines protesting the Dakota Pipeline. Let's acknowledge the bravery of the Me Too movement. And let's celebrate for the women who founded the Black Lives Matter movement. I believe that when we truly respect and value women, true prosperity will be found. I think Tupac explained this concept best, so in his spirit, I say you are appreciated and keep your head up. Now, in today's society, innovation is a key term used by many people. It's what educators, scientists, and other professionals work to incorporate in their work products. But I think we can do a better job in incorporating this quality on a social level. Now, I recognize that there are people out there fighting the good fight, but we need more people to join. Because we live in a society where we can go to the moon and back, but still have an exception to slavery. In the age of information, we choose to be ignorant, too quick to follow ideology, then take heed to wisdom. In the age of technology, where we've created laptops, televisions, wireless internet, game consoles, tools that allow people to maintain connections, but when we think socially, we continue to build barriers. We've created Jim Crow laws, truth and sentencing laws, private schools, and even private prisons. We've managed to create weapons that can destroy the earth and everyone on it, but can't manage to create a system that ensures everyone has quality food to eat. It's important that we remember the words of Frederick Douglass when he said, "Where justice is denied, where poverty is enforced, where ignorance prevails, and where any one class is made to feel that society is an organized conspiracy to rob, oppress, and degrade them, neither persons nor property will be safe." Now, in Wisconsin, we know it's one of the worst states for racial inequality. It's a state where 4 in 10 black kids are growing up in poverty. It's a state where higher rates of incarceration, unemployment, and disenfranchisement plague people of color and hinder their progress. And I understand that it's hard to recognize and understand the roles that we play and how we can even make a difference. But even in those difficult times, we cannot afford to lose hope, but must rather bask in it. I'm sure the movers and shakers of the civil rights movement had many days of lost hope, but in the name of justice, they pursued and prevailed. This lets me know that justice is not only possible, it's attainable. And we are those agents of change, class of 2018, which is why I'm excited to celebrate the founding of Law and Advocacy for Racial Justice here at this law school. So shout out to the team. Now, when several law students and I created LARGE, that's our shortened name, we recognized the racial inequality that persists in this state, and we set out to make a difference. A state where incarceration is not prioritized over education, a state where the dreamers can keep dreaming, and a state where justice is prioritized over finality. Now, as we move forward into our career paths, I know you all will continue to be the warriors of justice that you are. So as you move forward, know that the road of justice is not for the faint at heart. In a world that thrives on power and oppression, we must stay strong in the face of pressurizing fear. Martin Luther King Jr. said it best. He said that human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable, and that every step toward the goal of justice requires suffering, struggle, and sacrifice. So in order to create the change we wish to see in this world, know that there will be some struggle, there will be some sacrifice, and there will be some suffering. For the leaders of justice don't go where the path is made, but rather make a path of their own. And know that on this path you will encounter enemies, hate, deception, and violence. But in the face of these enemies, you must remember to use your helmet of knowledge, your shield of love, and your sword of justice, and know that you will fight tirelessly. So rest if you must, but don't you quit, for the evils of this world are continuous. Therefore, so should our fight for love, justice, and peace. As Brian Stevenson said, I got a little bit more. As Brian Stevenson said, the moral arc of this universe bends at the elbow of justice. So I say smile in the face of your enemies, for you know the day of justice is soon to come. Class of 2018, I love you all. Continue to be great, and let's make a difference.
Thank you, Reggie. One of the things that makes UW Law School a unique place is our commitment to experiential learning. Both Reggie and Tomas were fortunate to participate along with many of their classmates in our clinical programs. We believe that our students learn not just from a rich and rigorous program of academic learning, but from the chance to put that sophisticated analytical ability to work in the service of clients, usually real, occasionally simulated, and always with an eye toward learning how to lawyer from an experienced, thoughtful, and reflective member of our extraordinary clinical and experiential learning faculty, or sometimes a capable externship supervisor. We have a remarkable array of experiential learning opportunities for a law school of our size, and that means an amazing set of opportunities for our students to learn by doing. Some of our members of our graduating class have been recognized for excellence in their performance in a law school clinic, and at this time I'd like to ask all of our graduates who have been honored for the quality of their clinical work to please rise. Please remain standing. At this time, I'd like to ask any student who participated in a clinical program, in the lawyering skills program, or in an externship, judicial internship, or other experiential learning opportunity to stand and be recognized. That's the University of Wisconsin Law School right here. Please be seated. Every year, we give our graduating class the opportunity to choose the faculty member they would like to hear from as their hooding ceremony speaker. This year's graduating class has selected Professor Miriam Seifter. Professor Seifter teaches and writes in the areas of administrative law, federalism, energy law, and property law. Just for those of you who are family and friends, these aren't what you might call the sexiest topics in the law school curriculum. So to generate this level of enthusiasm with courses that some people might think of as dry is really quite remarkable. Professor Seifter received her BA magna cum laude from Yale University, an MSc with distinction from Oxford University, and a JD magna cum laude from Harvard Law School. After law school, she served as a law clerk for Chief Judge Merrick Garland of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit and for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg at the Supreme Court of the United States. Prior to joining the UW Law faculty, she was a visiting researcher and adjunct law professor at Georgetown University and worked in private practice. She has been here at UW Law since 2014, and in that short period, she has made her mark. She has published articles in the Harvard Law Review, the NYU Law Review, the UCLA Law Review, and the Virginia Law Review, and has been recognized in 2017 as the UW Law School Classroom Teacher of the Year. This year, she was recognized with a university-wide Distinguished Teaching Award. Be forewarned, she has been struggling with a case of laryngitis all week, and she has been saving her voice just for all of you. Please join me in welcoming Professor Miriam Seifter.
Dean Raymond, Justice Butler, parents, friends, families, and graduates of the class of 2018, what a joy to share this momentous day with you. Not even a bad cough could keep me away. It's not lost on me that by selecting as your faculty speaker one of the youngest members of the faculty with arguably the least life experience, you may have been hoping for a short speech. I will not disappoint you. In fact, all I really want to do today to wish you well is to review what I assume was one of your favorite topics from first-year property law: present estates and future interests. I can see some of you think I'm joking. For better or worse, I'm not. You see, if you reach back into your 1L memories, and for the benefit of the non-lawyers in the room, there are certain formalities that go along with the sale or other conveyance of a piece of property. People are supposed to use certain magic words to indicate exactly what they're conveying. But sometimes they don't use the right words, or they're vague. Helpfully, the law has 3 rules of construction for making sense of property conveyances. I have decided that these 3 rules are surprisingly applicable to this moment, too. The first rule is nemo dat quod non habet. Did you think we were done with obscure Latin phrases? It means you can only convey what you have. That's why if A gives a life estate to B, B has a life estate for A's life, not B's life, remember? The you can only convey what you have rule is relevant to us today because it explains why I'm not here to give you the secret to a decades-long career or to tell you how to become a judge or other luminary. Because I can only convey what I have, I will mainly suggest some questions. My main question, as luck would have it, comes from that second rule of construction you learned in present estates and future interests. That second rule says, the law presumes that you give everything you have. A grant from O to A, without saying more, gives the whole fee simple. Let's think about that again. The presumption is that you give what you have. It has a nice ring, doesn't it? I think a fair question to take with you as you begin your legal career is, am I giving what I have? This question is ambiguous, of course. Don't even get me started on administrative law. It's ambiguous because we still need to know, what should we give? What do we have? There are as many distinctive answers to that question as there are people here today. But still, we might wonder, is there anything that unites us as learners and practitioners of law? Anything that all of you, all of us, should give? Let me offer 3 possibilities, 3 variants of our main question, 3 different ways to answer, am I giving what I have and what should I give? Each of these is inspired by other wiser teachers I have known. The first contender for something we should all give is kindness. This is something I learned from some of my very favorite teachers, you, graduates. Those of you who had me for property may recall that on our first day we discussed a somewhat silly hypothetical involving a small jug of water on a desert island. The point was that one reason to have a system of private property is that it might help to avoid intractable conflict over or senseless waste of scarce resources in society. You were the ones who made that concern seem suddenly unnecessary by telling me, no, there'd be no conflict. You guys would just share the small jug of water. All 75 of you. The typical hypothetical assumes people are self-interested, but Wisconsin students, you quickly revealed, are uncommonly nice. It was your class, too, who read a clear case of legal malpractice and said, you weren't sure you wanted to sue the guy. Could you maybe just leave him a negative Yelp review? I see you. You've dazzled us with your kindness in other ways. You say thank you for lectures that you may or may not have enjoyed. You support each other inside the classroom and outside of it, too. As someone who spent my pre-Madison life grumbling at people who walked too slowly on subway escalators in big cities, you walk on the left, you stand on the right, while my extraordinarily kind husband, he's from Wisconsin, stood patiently and smiled at people, I am certain your way is better. There is no such thing as too much kindness. So when you ask, am I giving what I have, start with your kindness. But of course there's more, because kindness alone can't solve the tricky legal problems that will cross your desk. For a second variant of our question, am I giving what I have, consider asking, am I giving my best thought to the legal questions before me? Not rash reactions, not unstudied generalizations, but careful, thoughtful analysis. This is a suggestion I derive from another teacher, Chief Judge Merrick Garland, for whom I clerked. When we clerks would talk about pending cases with a judge, we'd state the question presented, and he'd always say, and what is the right answer? The cases before us were so complex and contentious that at first I found this question disarming. In fact, in my very first such conversation, I got flustered and said, well, I don't know, you be the judge. And then I realized he was a federal judge, and I just said, you be the judge, and the job got off to a really great start. Things improved. The point of this embarrassing story is, I came to believe that the judge was asking us for right answers, not because he was going to defer to us, and not because right answers are easy or obvious, but because you can really only take a position on which is the right answer if you've studied the question carefully, thoughtfully, even exhaustively. The judge expected us to have considered all of the possible answers and to be able to articulate, even-handedly and without prejudgment, their respective merits. Your legal careers will be richer, your clients will be appreciative, and the legal community will be better off if you give your careful reflection to each question before you. So ask, as you enter the practice of law, am I giving what I have? Am I giving my best thought to the hard questions before me? A third variant of our question, am I giving what I have, is am I giving back? One great teacher of this lesson is another former boss of mine, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. When she started law school, she was one of just 9 women in a class of over 500. She went on to graduate first in her class, but she was rejected by every law firm she applied to because she was a woman, and worse, a mother. Justice Ginsburg went on to make a career of fighting for gender equality, opening doors to so many who followed, including me, and including your majority female law school class. Keep in mind, of course, your way of giving back doesn't have to be through your day job. You have already shown that through your countless hours of terrific pro bono work during law school. Indeed, you might volunteer outside the legal profession altogether because, after all, you have so much more to give than legal advice. Whichever approach to giving back you choose, remember the advice of the great civil rights advocate Bryan Stevenson, who wrote Just Mercy, the Go Big Read book your first year of law school. One of the lessons he shares is that to solve problems in society, you have to be proximate to them. We all need to get close to what's wrong before we can fully appreciate and remedy it. So the questions I encourage you to ask as you set out on your very bright paths, things that all of us can ask, include, am I giving what I have? Am I giving kindness, giving thought, and giving back? Now, I promised you at the start that there were 3 relevant property law rules of construction, so before I close, let me mention the third. The third rule of construing ambiguous conveyances recognizes that the grantor can override the presumption that she gives everything she has. Sometimes she gives something less. And in that situation, because property interests can't just evaporate into space, the rule is what the grantor does not give, she reserves to herself. Taking some liberties, I believe this means that while your calling is to be giving, you need to reserve some of what you have, some of your kindness in particular, for you. There's no better teacher of this lesson, no one I know more willing to give themselves credit than my kids, ages 2 and 4. Someone recently asked my 4-year-old son if he liked basketball, and he replied matter-of-factly, "Yes, I'm unstoppable, one of the best in the world." My 2-year-old daughter sings the alphabet, usually with several letters missing, and then gives herself a loud and delighted round of applause. They may be a bit overconfident, but it really does make you wonder, when do we stop celebrating ourselves in that way and instead turn a critical eye? When does self-assurance exit and self-doubt enter? Can't we instead commend ourselves for things done right? So the final question I hope you'll ask yourselves is, am I reserving something for myself? And that brings us to the present. Today of all days, though not only today, I hope you relish all you have accomplished. Your parents, your friends, your professors, we are so proud of you. Congratulations, class of 2018, and good luck to you all.
Thank you, Professor Seifter. I think you can see why our graduating class chose her as our faculty speaker today. One last recognition before we move on to the moment you've all been waiting for. Let me call your attention to the cardinal red stoles that you see some of our graduates wearing today. The graduates wearing these stoles are graduating with high academic honors and have consistently excelled in their studies here at UW Law School. We also have other academic recognitions that honor a student's performance in a particular class or field. And we also have a Dean's List recognition that students can earn on a semester basis for their academic achievement. At this time, I'd like to recognize every student who's ever received an academic honor or award. If you're wearing a cardinal stole, if you got an academic award, if you've ever been on the Dean's List, if you've ever booked a class, I ask you to stand now so we can recognize you. Thank you. You can be seated. As your teachers and advisors, we're very proud of you, but your family, friends, and community are very proud as well. Now we come to the moment you've all been waiting for, presenting our degree candidates with their hoods. This symbolic process publicly demonstrates that you've completed your degree. The colors on the hood represent both the graduate's field of study and the university where the graduate earned the degree. The purple represents law, and the red represents Wisconsin. If you look at the regalia the platform party's wearing, you see that we all have different hoods because of all the different universities we attended to obtain our law degrees. You may not have the chance to wear academic regalia very often, although it makes a heck of a Harry Potter costume. But if you do have occasion to wear it at an academic ceremony, and if it has been properly chosen, you and anyone else who cares to figure it out will be able to tell from your regalia that you earned a law degree at the University of Wisconsin. Here's what's going to happen. Our graduates are going to stand row by row. Ushers are going to direct you, and you're going to head for the stage. When you come to the stage, please give your card to Diana. Who's reading names? Rebecca. Rebecca Scheller's going to read your name. Then you will be directed to the faculty members who will, when your name is individually read, hood you, put your hood over your head, 2 at a time, and then you'll come over there and we'll take a picture. For family and friends of the graduates, the professional images will of course be available for purchase, but you're very welcome to take your own. We've got space up front here, and we invite you to come on up and take as many photos of everything as you would like. Please don't be shy, and if you're not getting what you want, holler and make sure that you do. Today's been a long time coming. We want you to get your pictures, but there's probably not enough room for every family member down here. So graduates, you have an important job. When it's getting to be close to your turn, text your people and tell them you're coming so that they can scoot on down and be ready to take your picture. So we are ready to go. Please keep the aisles clear so the graduates can return to their seats.
Reginald Thedford, Jr. Tomas Clausen. Carlos Miranda Arrau. Sarah Conrad. Nathaniel Katz. Andrew Baker. Maria Lyon. Lucas Allen. Logan Hamilton. Benjamin Charles Becker. Lucas Swank. Nathaniel Niemeyer. Buole Yuan. Matthew Stoiber. Justin Randall. Sarah Elizabeth Schukart. Barbara Anna Klug. AJ Fabianchik. Jeffrey D. Anderson. Andrew Lawrence. Jared Padway. Christian Conway. Gilbert Nwapara. Ebby Morris Laureen Ibodo. Raquel Garcia Posada. Ailani Taylor. Emma Blanksheen. Natalie Zabalski. Chelsea Jane Wilfong. Anna Liebman. Megan Renslow. Alyssa Brown. Daniela Hernandez Mogul. Betsira Zude. Nancy Yunin. John Rajowski. Zachary Gaudier Close. Amy Johnson. Shannon Huberty. Laura Lemansky. Andrew Adams. Marisol Gonzalez Castillo. Ashley Sue Duffy. Alexandra Reagan Abernathy. Narissa Lisa Diet. Morgan Kathleen Stipple. Rose Elizabeth Fisher. Ahmad Moinuddin. Laura Brewer. Joseph Roman. Riyad Mo. Eric Eisenheim. Zhenlan Hu. Stephen Thompson. Emily Teresa Pellegrini. Claire Wallace Dennis. Caitlin Marie Quigley. Caitlin Mahalski. Christina Corey. Mary Parmiter. Annie Getzinger. Laura Vagley. Chelsea Zilke. Jessica Bailing. Michelle Saney. Mai Chao Cheng. Riley Leonard. Derek Brown. Rachel Gallagher. Sherry Clay. Gage Maurer. Kan Tran. Michael Stephen Falk. Tyler Ellison. Timothy O'Connor. Jacqueline Ciano. Hannah Berkowitz. Rachel Paulus. Joya Sanders. Randall Hansen. Dustin Page. James Smith. Justin Top. Nicholas Behrens. Connor Slavaka. Jason Church. Catherine Slaughter. Sophie Rosen. Olivia Ann Catherine Esser. Beauregard William Patterson. Betsy Stone. Allison Andrew. Brian Miller. TJ McNulty. Ashley Brown. Ellen Atterbury. Hannah Wilson. Laura Schrader. Alexandra Gandara Kramer. Madison Wines. Haley Irene Jagger Mason Archer. Afton Lewis. Michael Will Roy. Jen Gregory. Bela Alexander Balo. Sarah Lentis. Adriana Aristeguieta. Jennifer Bizotto. Andrew J. Burdick. Kevin Worthington Miller. Shane Solinger. Jeff Achveya. Jared Muir. Daniel Doctor. Kyle Fay. Cole Demony. Nathan Heffernan. Sloan Kessler. Lillian Nelson. Carolyn Friedman. Stephanie Kruger. Kylie Shaffrin. Patrick Nicholas Barker Shirley. Dana Roth. Katrina Gertz. Brenna Rianne McLaughlin. Syed Tausif Madani. Caitlin Barden. Emmy Passini. Michael Anarino. Lance Goodman. Enna Kovacevic. Andrew Heydrich. Olga Taimush. Greta Madison Megna. Storm Larson. Rachel Potter. Galen Wang. Maura Falk. Maxime Marling. Daniel Glinert. Matthew Atkins. Vincent Gathing. Mason Schultz. Nicholas Bizire. Aubrey Davis Hetznecker. Jonathan Hayden. Anna Collins Peterson. Sydney Van Berg. Britt Kudeback. Thomas Donahue. Colin Lane. Kate Hansen. William Bolte. Nicholas DeSantis. Ray Feliz Taveras. Jairo Hernandez. Brad DeRazio.
Evelyn Sosa. Nadeska Nino Gomez. Heba Hazah. Tanya Tangvorachai. Tonglu Yu. Minhua Shi. Wenting Huang. Lei Wang. Jay Zhou. Zishi Zhang. Simin Chu. Chuyang Lin. Shanga Yan. Yingshin Ge. Peiyu Shao. Fang Ting Shu. Rachanikan Suwadi. Vasut Chayinjada. Haonan Gu. Tian Fang.
Let's give our graduates one more round of applause. I want to just make sure that I thank our amazing staff, without whom none of this happens. You all know who you are. Thank you. And to say to the graduates, congratulations again. We await with anticipation and hope the great things you will achieve. We'll miss you. We're honored to have been a part of your journey. And as Leslie Knope would say, find your team and get to work. We invite you to all join us in the Monona Terrace. I think we're sadly not outside today, but nonetheless, you can enjoy a reception and the fellowship of your classmates and colleagues. Yes, Ginny? Right over there, right here in this very room. So please come join us for some refreshments and some chance to celebrate together. Thanks so much for being here.